From Barangaroo Studios, this is the COB, brought to you by eToro. Invest in ASX shares with $0 commission.
Good afternoon. This is the COB, all the stuff you need to know today about the day in business and markets. I'm Kyle Rutter with Danny Okuye, and well, Danny, a little dip, but fairly thin trade, it has to be said.
Oh, geez, yes. It looks like, I hear the US is really quiet as well. Like, I was listening to somebody who just made the comment, like, nothing is happening over there either. And that is a very large market. So that translates to, 2 slices of nothing in Australia. So, looks pretty quiet. But information technology, lest we forget, and lithium, but we'll get to those in a moment.
We will.
Were some shining lights, so all is not lost.
Yeah, exactly. There are things happening below the surface, and that's a good way to get into our 3 themes of the day. And well, thin trade was certainly one of them. The other theme was lithium, of course. Really, there we go. Doing deals, a lot of deals in the lithium space actually. A merger of equals, we've been told, but basically underpinning strength in the sector more broadly speaking. We'll get to some of those names in just a moment. But I thought this was fairly clever. Dancing on the debt ceiling, that might be the next thing to really be a catalyst for the markets because, well, D-Day is maybe only 3 weeks away.
June 1st. Apparently, yeah. So clearly there's some pretty odd stuff going on at the 1 month T-bills in the US. They have been really heavily bid up, which some of the traders, and you might know more about this, are alluding to, so the 1 month Treasury, US Treasury, 5.733 compared to the US 10-year, which is down at 3.48. So some of them are signalling a little bit of panic at the short end.
That's interesting. Okay, so we'll keep across that, of course. But I found it quite interesting, actually, some of the headlines today on, I think it might have been Bloomberg, might have been CNBC, but Joe Biden threatening that if this deal doesn't get done, we'll send the economy into recession imminently. And I thought, well, that's a very clever politics, perhaps, because, well, it's probably going to happen anyway, so you may as well try and blame it on your opposition and create something of a divergence.
But they are quite a it's really interesting because anyone that was around in 2011 and remember the argy-bargy that happened then, and it really went down to the wire. But there is a very recalcitrant group of those MAGA Republicans in there. So, I actually saw Donald Trump tweet it. He doesn't tweet. He made an announcement that he said that, unless the Democrats cut their spending, we will take America down into a default. So there you go.
He's out of his
mind. The former president has spoken.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how much he will spend if he happens to be re-elected.
Yes, he just kind of missed the fact that he raised the debt ceiling.
But hey ho, like crazy, and hey, not necessarily a bad thing. There's arguments for it, but he spent a lot.
Yeah, a lot of tax cuts.
Yeah, a lot of tax cuts. So anyway, it's politics. We shouldn't try and dive too deep into that because we're sensible business people, and we're going to talk about sensible business issues right now. We'll go into Allkem. Another deal for one of our major lithium players.
Yeah, I really think I had a guest on a couple of weeks ago who was on also yesterday, Tim Buckley, just talking about the strategic value of lithium processing in our reserves, and you really are seeing the Americans and the Canadians moving in big time with the bid for Liontown, now this merger. So Australia really needs to get his, it's stuff happening a little bit here from a geopolitical front, just a casual observation, but if you're seeing this much interest now, I think it's unlikely to disappear.
Yeah, and
this is the consolidation phase of we need to get our hands on this stuff. We're going to pick the eyes out of the best assets, consolidate the market and take control of it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised that some people are surprised by this because clearly it's obviously not in the share price and it's very difficult to predict. But I was talking to people 12 months ago about aren't some of the larger players in our local mining industry or perhaps even global players looking to pick these up and say, oh no, it's too small, it's not worth their time.
BHP said that, didn't they?
Well, it's crazy, but here you go. It's really put a rocket under the sector. Allkem today, the obvious one, up 15%. But I think in in car racing, they call it being in the slipstream of the leader there. You can see everything else being dragged along by that big player. So Core Lithium up 8 and a bit %. Pilbara, I guess the establishment name as far as lithium miners go, up 5% as well. So really some significant moves.
And interestingly, MinRes, I was just having a look because, MinRes has got lots of delays at the moment with their lithium projects, and I think they've also stopped their dividend, but it caught a bid, but only 2% up, $1.50 to $74. So really more the investors honing in on those lithium specific stocks.
Yeah, and well, of course, we had to have Allkem as our stock of the day. Here is what our guest had to say with David Koch, back from the coronation, about Allkem.
Lithium turning point is now, and after 5 months of sell-offs and downgrades in prices, downgrades in outlook, now it's a turning point, and what a better way to celebrate a turning point than with a massive merger. So given that the significance of this is huge, $10.6 billion merger at a time when lithium is set to be turning around, I honestly can't fault it. Definite buy.
Yeah, I think this is good for Allkem shareholders right now, and I think the short term is good for lithium. But I'm not nearly as enthused in the long term. Lithium is extremely common on Earth. I expect this newco will do very well, but not very well for very long. Probably for a short while you're likely to do well. Right. So there's no harm in being in it now if you were, but it's not for long-term holders like our members at Team
Okay. Okay, so that was Howard Common there from Team Invest, as well as Grady Wolf from Bell Direct, and they sort of spoke up a little bit, perhaps about the short-term trading element in the lithium names. But I guess there's a secular trend there, of course, you were just talking about before.
Yeah, absolutely. There's Goldman Sachs has actually put out a couple of really big reports on how much needs to be spent in the transition, and I think people continue to underestimate the scale of this transition. Yeah,
and well, energy security all feeds into that too, and strategic competition. So there's so many different threads to pick apart. It's one that we're not going to stop talking about anytime soon. But let's pick the issue up, shall we now, with Adam Dawes from Shaw and Partners, who joins us very kindly, and has to be said too on short notice. Dawesy, thank you so much for jumping on today. Just your view on the lithium miners at the moment. Clearly it's high demand for some of these Aussie lithium plays.
Yeah, it certainly is. And as you say, I really like that, Kyle, the slipstream. I'm going to use that tomorrow in a couple of my presentations. But yeah, absolutely, everybody getting dragged up with that and that lithium side of things. I think you've got to now start to look at potentially some of the smaller players. We're going to get some of these larger players being taken out. We really like Global Lithium 1, GL1 is the stock code. That's in near-term production, near mid-res on some of their lithium side of things. And so a fair bit of announcements that will be coming out in the next 6 months. So albeit, you want to stay in the top qualities, the big boys, I think, they're going to get taken out, or as we know that there's going to be these consolidations. And then you got to potentially look a little bit further down or up the risk curve, but down the market cap spectrum to sort of then start to get some of these things. But it does show to me that with these, remember, Allkem was a merger between Galaxy Resources and Orica a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. Now they're merging with a big US company to get those sort of synergies together. I think that really just shows you that the mining businesses now, you either have to be big or you're just going to have to go home. And so that's really exactly where we are at the moment with these things. They have to get bigger. They have to be able to compete on a global or a world stage. And that's exactly what Allkem's doing today.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. I'm just having a look at Global Lithium. It in the slipstream, it was up a nice 11% today, Adam. So well done, but still well off its highs. Do you think there is a risk as we have this consolidation in the lithium market, and we all know the demand, the secular trend, but there was a terrible nickel boom, Poseidon, in the early 70s when, it all ended terribly. Is there the risk with some of these stocks that they get too caught up in the slipstream and, it just gets overhyped?
Look, certainly, markets are very, very good at going higher than expected, in fact, going lower than expected as well. So, yeah, absolutely there is that overall problem that you potentially will have when you get these bids or you get these mergers and acquisitions, and the froth just keeps, I guess it's called a bubble, really, isn't it? We don't know it's a bubble until it's burst. But I think the other side to this is that there is demand for battery technology. There is demand for these kinds of things, and until battery technology changes away from a lithium-ion battery, then really the demand is going to be continuing to go forward. And as we continue to have more batteries in our life, from mobile phones to house batteries to all of these kinds of things, it's really only going to go one way. And so the demand will continue to rise. Electric vehicle demand is rising as well. We said we still need charging stations. We still need all this infrastructure to be built. So yes, I agree, Poseidon. Yes, there's this bubble, and in that past package, you're saying that lithium isn't very rare. I mean, it is around and there's a lot of it. So yeah, it can be. But I think also here in Australia, our assets are seen top tier. We've got a somewhat stable government. We've got investments that they're comfortable to move into, and that allows the US and especially Canada, because they're very much like us in their resources. These guys are going to come and gravitate to us because we've got such a good groundwork or framework to be investing in. So yeah, but I think it is going to be different. The demand, I think, is going to push us through, and hopefully it's not a bubble.
Yeah, indeed. We were just chatting about mineral resources, and I know it has been one of your favourites. It has sold off. They've had delays with their lithium projects. I think they've stopped their dividend. How are you seeing MinRes at these levels?
Yeah, look, it looks really attractive, but what you've got to do is you've actually got to look at what we call at-margin producers. So something with iron ore, and I don't have the numbers at my fingertips as far as what it costs them to make a ton of iron ore. These marginal producers, potentially, let's just say it costs them $100 to make a ton of iron ore. And even with the iron ore price just around that means that they're not making any money. So it's only really for something like a MinRes, as well as for the lithium side of things. But remember, they also have mining services business as well. So it is quite a diversified business. But that lithium side of things also, you just got to be a little bit careful for these marginal producers, because they do, if the commodity that they're dealing in does come back down below that cost of production, that really means that they're going to be running a business at a loss, and hence why the dividend has been reduced or taken off. And really, I think MinRes looks good around this sort of $70 mark. We did a bit of buying in it the other day, taking advantage of this little bit of a pullback. Certainly that lithium story, though, because MinRes is a fantastic business because it's got old world assets, which is iron ore, and it's got new world assets, which is lithium. And putting both of those together, it still makes that a very interesting company. And remember, they are looking to do a listing in the US closer to the end of the year, which I think will keep the share price nice and full from where it is.
I wanted to just shift tack very quickly, move away from lithium, but we also had Graincorp's results out today. And I suppose if we're talking about potential secular trends, food security, agricultural prices, it's still a real focus for a lot of investors. And the stock was well rewarded today from the update that we received. I mean, what's your view on Graincorp? Any insights as well on the results that we did get today?
Yeah, the results was actually good. I think they also said that the profit was a little bit lower and they kept their dividend flat, but they did guide to better results, or they guided to better for the next 6 to 12 months. So I do feel that Graincorp does have a little bit of that tailwind going forward. I'm wondering if some of the stock today was a little bit of a short squeeze coming out of it after that result. But I'm really also looking for Elders' result, which is coming out on Monday. And, looking at Graincorp's result, Elders should also be quite good, but Elders has been absolutely beaten down. And I'm sort of long and wrong on Elders for clients at the moment. So I'm hoping for a good result in Elders. But certainly Graincorp saying that their product, or for oil, flaxseed oil, as well as their grains, there is demand, and they have forward orders going through. So I think it's going to be an okay one for Graincorp. Certainly one of those ones that you probably would take advantage to sort of start to liquidate or come out of this stock a little bit, because it sort of feels like it's the best it's ever done. Agri business as of last year was probably the best it's ever been, and now we're just starting to see that tail coming through. So I'd take advantage of this price increase to sort of lighten my load on Graincorp at the moment.
Cool. And just really quickly on information technology, NASDAQ is back at those June 2022 levels, and of course big tech has taken it there, but you know, again, that good old slipstream, to quote Kyle, some of ours are in the slipstream. Do you think some of the favourites like WiseTech, Seek's had a great run? You know, do you think they're all looking a bit exy? Technology One reports soon. Is it a space that, you know, you're just sort of saying, just gone a bit too far, too fast at this stage?
Certainly with the NASDAQ, yes, I agree. I think that has gone fast. And if you remember a year ago, it was down, NASDAQ was down 30%. So it's had a fantastic recovery. It really has done very, really well. But what I would also look at is, I mean, T&E has got some problems that are in trading halt today around a hack or a cyber attack. So we've got to be careful on that one. I think that one might, when it does come on tomorrow, might come back to around that $13 mark, and that's sort of squarely in our buy range for that one. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. We've got Xero reporting next Thursday, I think. That will also being one of our larger technology businesses in there as well. I think that'll be an interesting one if they can then really turn that profitability dial up. The market seems to have already, and you're right, Daniel, I do agree that all the sectors or the tech stock have run on the back of potential interest rates coming back, you know, sometime at the end of this year. Might have gone a little bit too hard at the moment. But still, I still see some value in some of those stocks, and certainly Xero, you know, $96 where it is. And if it does report well, hopefully, fingers crossed, it gets over that $100 mark and then continues to move forward as well. So I think there are some pockets of good quality businesses. ReadyTech is another one that's going to be licking their lips once T&E comes out with this cyber attack. They're going to take some market share off T&E as well. So, yeah, it's a tough one. They have run. I'd be cautious, but also I'm still comfortable because we do know that tech as well, I mean, Apple's definitely run, all of the big tech names have run. That can still continue to go on because the US is the biggest consumer in the world. And as soon as they start buying things, certainly technology will do well on the back of that.
Dorothy, really appreciate your time. It's always a lifesaver and not for the first time. And a great chat. So we'll wrap it up. Let's get to the rest of your day. Adam Dawes, Shaw & Partners. Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Okay, well, let's go straight to what we've got to look forward to tonight.
Yeah,
perhaps.
it's just having a quick look. It looks like, oh, there we go. US PPI for April. Bank of England decision.
Yeah. 25 basis points is the expectation.
Right.
And, only taking its key bank rate to about 4.25%. We know they ran into their own financial stability risks that put a handbrake on things last year.
Yep.
But still playing catch up, there's a sense that might have to move higher. Double-digit inflation with a 4%
Yeah, they're really
rate.
Getting slammed, aren't they?
Yeah, actually had a chat with Nick Twydale, who's calls that the mother country his home in some way, I guess. Saying that, yeah, he was talking to his parents, he was talking to a whole bunch of his other friends. They're just sort of wearing the price rises and just continuing to spend and go about their lives. So might take a little bit more work from the BOE to get rates down. But we've also got some companies going ex-div and some AGMs tomorrow.
Yeah, so looks like we've got Ampol, they've got an AGM, as does QBE, News Corp, REA, quarterly earnings. And also JHG, I think that's Tardy, I would have thought. Yeah, that's going ex-dividend. So, yeah, there's still quite a lot happening at this point in time.
Okie dokie. Well, let's get to the leaders and laggards, and well, probably sound like a broken record, but we have to emphasise it. It was very, very lithium intensive. The leaders today. Allkem already spoken about obviously the details behind that. Lake Resources 2, second in line, 13%. Graincorp.
Bit of short covering. Adam thought. Yeah, it's sort of a bit, and it does. When you look at it up 9.4%, it could well have been a bit of short covering, and we might see that, as you said, in Elders. I was just looking at Elders. My God, that has been trolleyed.
Yeah, right. Okay, so some of those ag plays may be due for a little bit of a squeeze there potentially. We'll wait for that on Monday, but Core Lithium there as well, Santa Mining, another more volatile name perhaps, 21 cents per share. Of course, it's going to be that way, up 7.6%. And I guess we just now wait for the next shoe to drop, the next deal to be done potentially, because there really does seem to be, as we've said a couple of times, folks lining up, businesses lining up, miners lining up to seize upon some of Australia's big lithium assets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Watch this space indeed. And we'll get to the laggards now. Well, Silver Lake Resources actually was on the list a few days ago too.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a gold story here. I can gather. Look, the Grey Mining's there, Capricorn Metals, a few names that are all exposed to the gold space, and well, I guess a reasonably healthy pullback to say the least. I think I've quoted the number on a couple of occasions this week that the ASX All Ordinaries Gold Index leading into this week was up 30% year to date. You've also got something as well.
Yeah,
Silver Lake
Silver Lake is competing proposal to acquire Santa Barbara's Leonora assets as well. So maybe there was a little bit of that tipping in, as well as some profit taking in the gold miners.
Blocks on there as well. That's always a bit of a crypto play and a tech play as well. So that's down to $84 a share. Actually, that slips quite considerably. It's a volatile stock. Down 4% for the session. Monadelphous, that moved higher. In fact, I was talking to your significant other this morning about the city upgrades to Monadelphous. I think we were calling it, what was it, primate earnings or something like that was the phrase going around. I can't remember.
I thought that was Goodman Group.
It might have been. I'm trying to figure out a way to sort of shoehorn primate earnings in it there. If you don't know what that means, go and watch the Rudy Philippek Van Dyke clip on the platform today. It was a funny little, I suppose, typo in the prompter, so we were just having fun with that one. But the small caps now.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a lot of lithium plays going on there as well.
Yeah, speaks for itself, doesn't it? Gallon up there, 23% there almost. Let's go to where the laggards were in the small cap space too. Mindax, Saunders, Noble Oak, Shine Justice, Frontier Energy. Nothing that I can pick up on in terms of a common thread there, but nothing that tickles your fancy either.
No, I was just thinking I must be dyslexic, because you said Mindax and I'm thinking, is it Mindax? So
tomatoes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got much better elocution than I do, so I'm going to go with
I'm
your
not.
choose.
No, don't do that. I said Ori once instead of Arise, so definitely don't go with me.
It reminds me of our dear former Prime Minister who pronounced hyperbole hyperbole one day. Smart woman, but anyway, we all make mistakes, don't we?
Indeed.
If we didn't, I wouldn't be here. Let's wrap things up because, well, we've got a big day. As always tomorrow, a lot on the agenda, but well, we'll just have to wait to see if anything wakes these markets out of its slumber, because there's just lacking a catalyst. And I don't know, is it just a particularly nice autumn over, or was it spring over in the Northern Hemisphere?
I just think the debt, I really do think now people are worried about the debt ceiling and more politics and all the blustering and everything going on. The Americans, if you're American and somebody's, they're not threatening to default, but that's kind of hanging over it. And once somebody used on CNBC, like a Russian style default, I mean, no one would be happy about that. So it could be a case of maybe not the markets selling down in May, but just everybody saying, look, we're positioned, we've got our cash, we're ready to go. Let's just see how this plays out.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's a liquidity risk, I suppose, and you don't want to be involved in the market.
And there's still those US banks. Everybody thinks that that's just disappeared, but you've still got that asset and liability mismatch out there, and I do think it's one of those things like, oh, well, we've dealt with that, but really at the end of the day, those banks can't lend.
Yeah, and ergo the issues with perhaps credit growth and
correct,
growth
and then you go straight to that. There could be a lot more going on at the moment that will take time to play out in the US economy.
Yeah, well, as it plays out, of course, you'll be watching AusBiz, and we will get you across it all. But for today's action, remember you can watch it all back on your platform and website. Until tomorrow morning.
One thing. We had a really special interview today with somebody from Los Angeles discussing Disney and Netflix. So for any of you, go and catch up on that interview with Hatem Diab from Gerbis Kawasaki. I just thought I'd mention that one because it's a new guest for AusBiz.
Fantastic. Have a great evening.
The COB is brought to you by eToro. Invest in ASX shares with $0 commission.